Welcome to Firebase Interaction. I'm Dominic. I'm a Firebase GD, also one of the co-founders at Yadada and one of the organizers at GDG Ostrava. Today, we will talk about the Firebase. How many of you heard about the Firebase? Can you type message at chat if you already heard or tried Firebase? No one? Okay. That's going to be hard, probably. No. Okay. I will give you a briefly introduction into that. First, what's Firebase? Firebase counts as the backend as a service. What is it? It's something that it's hosted in cloud, and you connect it to your app, and all the services that Firebase is providing are already there. For example, you want authentication, that's part of the Firebase. You just connect your Firebase SDK to your app, and you have it. Other things, Firestore, that's the database of the Firebase, storage for storing your files, and also some analytics and other things. That's Firebase. It's provided by Google. Google didn't found it. It was a small startup started in the US as a real-time database provider. Lately, Google bought it, and now it's providing as a own service with more features. As I said, it started only as a database. Now it have like 20 features. I told you about the serverless. What's serverless and why? You have graph here, over here. I will probably, if you have some service on the cloud, you have two options. Setting it up by yourself or leave it to Google. If you will leave it to Google, you have option Firebase. And there are many other options in the Google Cloud. For example, Cloud Functions are also a thing in a Firebase, and it's also own thing in a Google Cloud. You have things like App Engine, Kubernetes Engine, Compute Engine. And if you move from left to right, you have to do more to do more settings and things like that. It's hard to you to do that. You rather leave it to Google. They're gonna upgrade it and things like that, scaling, all these things Google will do for you, and you're just focusing on developing your app. Firebase is providing through three types of services. First is build, second is release and monitor, and third is engage. We will talk more about the build because it's a students developer club, and you are mostly developers and are trying to focus on developing things. But secondly, we will talk about release and monitor and engage, but mostly about the build. There's three stages in the Firebase, because you might start with building an app, connecting to authentication, turn it into your database, and other things. After you're releasing it into production, you want to track your bugs in the app, track how many users are using it, how many users are affected by the bugs, and other things. You can also track what's their behavior in your app. Another thing, you want to keep your user engaged. You want to push notifications to them. You want to setting some A/B testing, for example, blue or orange button, and other things. That's engaging in the Firebase. As I said, Firebase started as a real-time database. It's still part of it, but there are other things in the Firebase. It's a Firestore and other Crashlytics, in-app messaging, remote config, and other things. There are a lot of things in Firebase, and there are things adding new or upgrading them. As I said, I'm one of the co-founders of Yadada, and we are using two things in our as tech stack. As a backend, we have Firebase. Almost all features that Firebase is providing, we are using it. And as a front end, we are using Flutter. Probably some of you already heard these two things. On the backend, or part of the backend that Firebase is providing, Cloud Functions, is provided with the TypeScript, and Flutter is written in the Dart. That's two languages. I will start with the authentication. It's most used feature in Firebase, and there are three pluses in the authentication. First, it have pre-built UIs. For example, you want to have some Google, Facebook authentication, GitHub, and other things. Firebase authentication have you. It also supports Auth2. As I said, Google, Facebook, and others are using it, and you can implement your own Auth2 provider. It has also cool features as a passwordless email sign-in. You send an email to your user, and there's a link in it. User click it on that, and they are in your app already signed. Anonymous sign-in, it's hidden in the background. Users don't have to opt anything, and they are signed, and you see them in your Firebase. Firestore. That's one of the two. That's one of the two databases in that Firebase is providing. First is real-time database. Second is Firestore. Real-time database was the first one. It's NoSQL cloud database. Real-time database is the same, and it's modeled as a collection of documents. I will have one slide later that's showing how it's supposed to look, and it's horizontally scaled. It doesn't matter how many users are connected to that database. It automatically scaled how many data are there and how many users are using it. Almost any document there that's in the database is indexed. That means that it's super hell fast. There is comparison between those databases. That's supposed to be that's for the real-time database, and that's for your Firestore. Real-time database is a JSON tree. You probably heard about the JSON. It's I count it as a string. It's syntax for the communication. It have just basic queries, and it's limited to region and limited scaling. It's good for some chat or real-time data that's in your app, but it's not supposed to do any high-level data. It's not good for storing a high amount of data. Firestore is different. It's a collection of documents. As I said, documents are almost the same as JSON. They have types, and it's not the same, but it's almost the same. I can count it in this presentation as the same. It has strong queries. Said in the previous slide, everything is indexed in the database, and it's regional or multi-regional, and it's automatically scaled. In some cases, real-time database is better, but mostly you might need the Firestore. It's also a newer database in Firebase, and you have a cool feature called offline persistence. All the data are cached, and it's stored offline after it's once read it. I will say it again. What's the Firestore? It's newer solution inspired by real-time database. It's modeled as a collection of documents. I have example here. I have collection of users. Each users can have some workouts, and each workout have some history. Each collection have own documents, and if you read this document, you don't read any collection below because it's shallow by default. And it's also horizontally scaled. What are you paying for if you're using Cloud Firestore? You are paying for read and writes. That's database. Let's go on. Cloud storage. That's another feature in the Firebase. You might see it as a Google Drive in a Firebase. It's object storage service. Same feature is in Google Cloud. Don't count Firebase as a second thing to Google Cloud. It's a feature on top of the Google Cloud. Most of the features that Firebase is having are also in the Google Cloud or somewhere in Google. It's just one place or one SDK that is using all these services. It have high scalability. Doesn't matter how many or how big the folders or the files are. It's automatically scaled and it's a high availability. All your data are automatically copied to other countries, other CDNs that Google is providing. And that means that I will be downloading a file almost at same speed as some guy in the, for example, US. I'm not in US, I'm in Czech. And it can store any file. Firebase hosting, it's fourth thing developing things in Firebase. It's a free hosting that Firebase is providing. That it can serve like any HTML file. You can serve also in your Express.js there. You can serve static pages there, and it has some backups. I'm not sure how long are backups there, but I never heard any backup got lost. Then it's good, and it's by default there. Any question? No. Okay, I will go on, and at the end we have some Q&A session, and you can ask the questions, and I will try to answer them. Cloud functions. That's fifth feature in the Firebase, and you run your backend code without managing any servers. I showed at the start was the serverless. You're just writing your code in a Node.js because Cloud functions are running in a Node.js in a Firebase environment. Some Cloud functions can be written in Python, and I think they are working also on a Dart Cloud functions. But for now, you can use Node.js Cloud functions in Firebase. And you don't worry about the servers. You don't have to tell how much RAM, how much CPU you want there for your function. You just upload your JavaScript function there and it's running. And it have also a lot of triggers. What the triggers means, there are, as I said, many of them. And for example, one of the triggers is Cloud Firestore triggers. If somebody writes any document to your Firestore, you get notified to your Cloud functions, and Cloud functions can update the document based on it. Example, I will put comments in my Firestore, and if comment is there or added there, I will write Cloud function that is listening on the trigger and update the text in the comment against the vulnerabilities and harassment and things like that. That's one of the triggers. There are many of them. As I said, the real-time database, remote config, and I can go on. Last of them are HTTP triggers. If you deploy your Cloud function on a HTTP trigger, it will be hosted on the HTTP link, for example, US central one dot your name of the app and Firebase Cloud Functions.com, and you can call. You can serve like your API on the Cloud Functions. Cloud Functions are counting as the API of the Firebase. It's not all the API, but it's counting as your backend as your API of the Firebase. And the last of the developing things is machine learning. I am not the machine learning guy, to be honest, but I will briefly go for it. It has pre-built APIs. You can connect machine learning from Firebase to your app, and you can have face detection, barcode scanner, text detection, for example, from photos. It have also AutoML. You can do own models into AutoML, upload, for example, 2 distinct images, dog or cat, use that model in your app, and based on the image, your app will tell if it's cat or dog. That's one of the examples on AutoML. And you can serve also custom TensorFlow models. I'm not sure if you know what is TensorFlow. It's machine learning thing or machine learning thing from Google. I'm not the machine learning guy, as I said. I'm not well known for TensorFlow, but if you type in Google, it's around machine learning. We briefly went through the developing things. Now it's analyzing. Firebase is also providing Google Analytics. You know how people are using it, how many are engaged, how many are, what's your retention for your app. You know also where are they from? This is real-time. Firebase is providing a real-time map that is having like 30 minutes backup. I'm not sure if it's right. 30 minutes or 36. To be honest, I'm not sure now, but you know how many users in past 36 or 30 minutes, how many users were using it and where they were from. Performance monitoring. You will know how well your app is running in your environment, in your state, but how well it's running in different states and how fast, what the frozen times there. Performance monitoring is tracking it for it. You connect it to your app and you know how many freeze screens are there and what's the startup time, for example. I don't know, in India or on Hungary or Czech Republic, those are 3 different countries, and you can have on the start of the app some HTTP call to your server, and based on that you're gonna render your app. And HTTP server will be based on Finland. And there are different responses from Czech Republic, Hungary, and India, and your start app will be slower, for example, in Hungary. Performance monitoring will let you know if it's slow or not. Firebase Crashlytics. As I said, you always want to track your bugs. Deploy to production and users somehow using it, but they are losing traction and losing some features in your app. And why? Because you have some bugs there. You want to record them. You want to see what's causing them. And Firebase Crashlytics is for that. You see how many users were affected by some bug. You know what's causing them. And you also know the track of the Google Analytics events. Example again, I have bug after the login screen. I know that person was on the login screen, it clicked Google sign-in button, and after that, it crashed and reported the bug in my Firebase Crashlytics. I know it was on the sign up Java, for example, sign up Java page. I know the events before that, and it's easier for me to investigate that bug and fix it. Now we are on the example. Do you have any question to first part? It was brief introduction to Firebase. And I want to continue on the example where I will show you how the features from the Firebase can be easily used. Okay, any question is not there, we will go on. I have 4 screens. First is my sign in and sign up page. Second is my feed page. Third is my profile page. And fourth is some venues or places Sign up page have 6 features: Facebook, Twitter, Google. Google is not there, but most of the apps are having it. Email login, registration, and close. That's cool feature on the sign up page. My activity or news feed. It have feed over some posts, some comments there, and also it have some notification based on that. We don't worry about that. We have all the things that we need in the Firebase. Profile page, if some user information, profile image, and a lot of other things that are based on the user. Nearby places, it contains some images, some comments, also some search. We'll talk about it later because most of the questions that I always have are about the search in the Firestore, and it's not easy to do, but I will tell you how can you do in a fast way, not the cheapest way, but you will see. Firebase. Sign up page is easily covered by the Firebase authentication. You don't have any feature there. I will just put the developer feature or the code features that you need from the Firebase, not the analytics and other features. We know that we are using them, but I will talk about the coding and developing things because we are developer students club and we want to talk about developing things. Activity, we have feeder, images, and some notifications. We're going to use real-time database or Cloud Firestore based on that. Based on the post, probably Firestore with some use case of the real-time database. Cloud functions, cloud storage, and cloud messaging. What's the cloud messaging? You're probably going to ask. Cloud messaging is service provided by Firebase also, and it's for the notification. It's probably one of the most used features that Firebase is having. Profile page is using Cloud Firestore, Cloud Storage, and Firebase authentication. And last one, it's using also Cloud Storage and Cloud Firestore. As you probably saw in the presentation, none of the screens used any other feature except the Firebase ones. That's cool because you are using only one backend, one thing in your app, and you don't have to call different APIs, different SDKs, because you want features from these providers. You just use Firebase, and that's one thing that covers all that you need in your app. Okay, I will go with the example. I will go with the Flutter, but JavaScript, Python, and other are almost the same. Just the syntax are different, but the core of the things is the same. I will add the core to my app because you always need to add the core package of the Firebase to your app. Okay, I will start with the sign-in page. I will add the Firebase out feature and Google sign-in. Google sign-in is probably different feature from the Flutter, but Firebase out is not. And how the Firebase Google sign-in is looking. I will create Firebase out instance. I will call Google or Google sign-in for user. That's your Google sign. Probably everywhere is the same. That's the page from the Google where you're selecting your user and typing your password. I will get authentication tokens and access token, ID tokens from Google. I will put it in the credentials, and I will sign it with it. That's everything I need, and my user is signed with the Google. Google will later add this user in the table. I have probably, yeah, I have lately in my presentation. That's everything you need for a Google sign-in. Sign-in anonymously is the second thing. As we saw in our presentation, I will go for the, yeah. We had close button here. And it's hard to do when you have authentication in your app. But Firebase is covering it with the signing anonymously. That means that user is signing in, but he don't know about that. We are just storing his token and some info about this phone a bit, but that's it. We don't have any password, email, anything else. But we have his profile in the authentication service. And it's working like a charm. That's a table from the Firebase authentication. As I said, you can have anonymous users there, and you have Facebook, for example, and Google with the emails and where the users are, when the users were created or updated, and some tokens or IDs. It's not token, it's ID, UIDs. And that was all for the sign-in page. We just covered it with the one package and easy implementation of the code that Firebase is providing. Second is the activity feed. We are adding storage and Cloud Firestore to our app. Storage, the thing like Google Drive, where you're storing the files, it's automatically scaled, have great availability. And we are creating Firebase storage instance, creating task that's uploading your storage on specific path. Path is same as your directory in your PC, some folders. And we are putting file with some metadata. Metadata can be anything that you created. We are waiting for it. And after that, we can say, hey, Firebase, we want your download URL for that file. And Firebase is going to generate URL for that file with signed token, returns it to us, and we can download that image from that URL and put it anywhere in your app or anything. Firebase Firestore is different from the storage. It's not for the files, but it's for the data. And it's that database. And as all the feature previously, we will create instance. We'll call some collection, as I shown previously in my the Firebase Firestore collection was shown previously in my presentation. Collection is the thing where you store documents. And we have collection of feed. And we are adding some document there with the title, hello, Patron, blah, blah, blah. It's name of the presentation where I have for first time that example. And some content, how are you? Great of that, we can wait or listen to changes of any data that Firestore is providing. We have collection, and we can listen to that collection if any data in that collection were changed. If something was added, something was updated, something was deleted, and other things. That's example app. And we are updating our document. We are updating our document. And as you see in the presentation, all the data are automatically scaled and update it in my app. Firebase messaging. On the news screen, we saw notification. That's one of the most used features from Firebase, as I said. And I will go more around it. Firebase have two types, or any notification that your app is getting have two types. It's background notification and foreground notification. Background is when your app is closed, when your phone is locked, or your app is in background and you have, for example, Facebook and any other app in foreground. And you have foreground notification when your app is open and you received your notification. Okay. We can wait for the background notification and store it. Or we can listen to Firebase messaging if any notification are received when my app is opened. That's it. We have 4 screens implemented, and we don't need anything else. As I shown how we can, what features we need for the sign-in and sign-up page, what features we need for the activity and newsfeed and notification. For the profile page, we need the same as on the sign-up page, just the authentication feature, a bit of the Firestore, but I shown it also on this screen. And for the places near me, we need storage, uploading file shown previously, searching. The best thing you can do for searching in Firestore is use Algolia. That's third-party service provided by Algolia team. It's not by Google. Funny thing that Google is one of the best search engines in the world, but they don't have Firestore search feature. But Algolia is great for that. And all 4 of our screens are covered with like 2 services, one if you count only Firebase. Okay, we upload it to the production and we have some bugs there. It happens almost in for any app. That's cool. We can cover it with our Crashlytics. Crashlytics are recording any app that's any bug that's happening in your app. For example, you have crash, you have some changes in your data that are not crashing the app, but when you are developing things, you see it in the log. Okay, if it's in production, it will send it to your Crashlytics, and you see that you are having some problem in your app, and how many users or what devices are affected with it. I have one example here. I have some null pointer exception in my app. One user in 1.3 or 2.0 version was affected with it. It had Android version 9, Galaxy S9, and we know that it happened in the Firebase functions. If I clicked on the text, we see more details. If I go for logs, I know what happened before that, what analytics event happened before that. And last thing are Firebase performance. As I said previously, the thing for that there is tracking your freeze times, your start time, and other things that you want to track. For example, you are implementing some mobile app game, and you want to track how fast it's shooting there. Can be example. You want to track how fast it's moving with your person in a foreground, and what's the response from server to your app. You can track sending to your server and response, and based on that, you know the time before based on that, and you're gonna send it to Crashlytics, and you know how updates are affected or how updates are improving this issue. Last thing, because it's a big thing in the Firebase, all the keys or all the IDs are public. When you connect your app to your Firebase, you just download keys or IDs. That's not keys, but I'm calling them keys and IDs to your app, connect SDK, and that's it. Firebase knows what app can connect to your Firebase and start calling. But you want to secure your data if you don't want other users or other attackers to use your features. And you are covering with them security rules. What are security rules? Security rules providing access control to your data and data validation. It's a flexible rule syntax that allows you to create some match to match anything. I have an example here. This is my Firestore rules. I have database that have burgers collection. Each burger have reviews, and I am allowing write to that collection if the request have data with the stars that is more than 0, and not allowing any attacker or any other app write into my database with wrong data. And I am allowing to read the reviews if the visibility is public. You can do hard thing in the rules, and I will not go for it. And we can have another presentation, long presentation around this Firestore or Firebase real-time database rules. But you can cover a lot of things in your rules. I can easy example is writing some data into token of your user, and you are allowing reading some data based on that. And that was faster than I expected, a bit like 5 minutes, but thanks for having me, and thanks for silent listening. And now we can go for questions if you have any.
Guys, you can ask in the question answer tab and we'll answer them shortly. I have one question. You said that we can listen to the notifications whenever we open the app, but how are we going to send the notifications? You didn't mention that.
I can mention that. You can send your notification 2 ways. You can send them from the SDK that admin from the admin SDK that Firebase is providing. You can send from another device, or you can send them directly from the Firebase console. I can share my screen. Okay, and I go for example, this one. This is my example, and we have cloud messaging here. They are still present. I'm not. Okay. Hop. Okay. We have cloud messaging here. I want to send my notification. If my apps are connected, it's easy to send. Test title, test notification. I can add some image here. That's how it's gonna look in my mobile phone. I can target some app. I can also target topics. Topic are, you can group people into same topic. Can be group in the. You can have example on Facebook. One room is one group. You want to send notification. You want to send a notification to all users in that group. I will select, for example, my main website. now where no one is called. That's my example project. I want to send it later, or I can send it daily. I can track what is user doing after my notification, and I can send any custom data with it. That's how you can send your notification. With the SDK, it's almost the same, but in the code, it's covered by the code.
Okay. I'm saying, like, for example, if like I log into the app or something like that, person to see the notification, like how it's gonna be, like, just we not have loop or something.
Yeah, you can create authentication trigger in the Cloud Function that will call admin SDK that will send notification to the user. On the Android, users are automatically accepting the notifications. On the iOS, you have to prompt user to accept notification permissions. But you can create the trigger in your Cloud Functions that is waiting on creating users and send notifications after that.
Okay, got it.
Any other question?
I don't think so. I can't see any. Okay, then I guess we can end the session here as we don't have any other questions.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining this session. It was great and informative session.
Thank you for having me. If you have any questions, as I said, I have Twitter. I can share it again. If you find me on that Twitter, you can ask me anything there.
Sure.
Thanks again for having me, and hopefully everyone gonna use Firebase and use it right or easy.
Yeah. Okay. Have a nice day. Okay, guys, have a nice day, and thank you for joining the session. Bye. I hope to see you in the next sessions, and you'll get your certificates by the email, maybe by tonight or maybe tomorrow. Thank you.